For decades, Motor Sich was a strategically important industrial company in the post-Soviet world. Russian helicopters, transport aircraft, industrial turbines, and energy systems throughout Eurasia were powered by the company's engines. The Soviet planners had established a vast aerospace ecosystem in which Ukraine handled a major share of engine manufacturing, while Russia focused on aircraft design and final assembly. That interdependence survived even after the Soviet Union collapsed. But today, Russia is steadily moving beyond Motor Sich. And honestly, a lot of people once thought that would be impossible. Viktor Kladov, the director of international cooperation at Rostec, stated at the Russian-Chinese Expo in Harbin that Russia is developing a new ultra-heavy engine to replace products that were once associated with Motor Sich. That statement may sound routine at first, but in reality, it signals the possible end of one of the most important industrial dependencies left over from the Soviet era. The announcement is really the result of a process that began more than a decade ago. Moscow eventually concluded that dependence on Ukrainian aerospace manufacturing had become a strategic vulnerability. What started as emergency import substitution slowly transformed into a broad restructuring of Russia's aviation engine industry, from helicopters all the way to future heavy transport aircraft. And yes, this is one of those stories where industrial policy suddenly became geopolitical survival. To understand how Russia moved past Motor Sich, it is important to understand what Ukraine inherited after the Soviet collapse. When the USSR disappeared, Ukraine received several advanced industrial assets, but few were as globally significant as Motor Sich. The company specialized in aircraft and helicopter gas turbine engines and occupied a central position inside Soviet aerospace supply chains. Motor Sich products powered some of the most recognizable Soviet and Russian aircraft and helicopters, including the Mil-Mi-8, Mil-Mi-17, Mil-Mi-24, Mil-Mi-28, Kamov-52, Mil-Mi-26, and the Antonov An-124 Ruslan. These were not niche platforms. They formed the backbone of Russian helicopter and transport aviation for decades. The TV-3-117 and VK-2500 engine families became especially important because they powered much of Russian helicopter aviation. Entire fleets depended on them. And when people talk about Soviet aerospace integration, this is exactly what they mean. Motor Sich was not simply exporting engines to Russia. It existed inside a shared industrial ecosystem that connected Ukrainian engine production with Russian aircraft factories, military logistics systems, maintenance centers, and spare parts infrastructure. Altitude Addicts has covered stories like this before, where Soviet-era industrial planning created systems so interconnected that breaking them apart decades later became incredibly difficult. The arrangement survived through the 1990s and early 2000s because both sides benefited from it. Russia remained Motor Sich's largest and most natural market, while Ukrainian factories depended heavily on Russian contracts and long-term fleet servicing. It was not glamorous, maybe not even politically fashionable by the end, but economically it worked. Then came the political break that changed everything. The turning point arrived after 2014. Ukraine suspended military technical cooperation with Russia as relations between Moscow and Kyiv deteriorated. Sanctions and export restrictions directly affected products like the TV-3-117 and VK-2500 helicopter engines. Suddenly, one of Russia's most important aerospace supply chains was exposed to geopolitical risk. This was a strategic blow for Russia. Some helicopter programs depended heavily on Ukrainian engines or components connected to Ukrainian production networks. Russian military aviation could not afford long-term uncertainty surrounding spare parts, maintenance, or future production. And this is where the conversation stopped being just industrial and became deeply strategic. At the same time, the rupture also triggered a severe crisis for Motor Sich itself. The company had spent decades integrated into the Russian aviation ecosystem. Russian helicopter fleets were not merely customers. They were the economic foundation of the entire operating model. Western aerospace markets were already dominated by giants such as General Electric, Pratt & Whitney, and Rolls-Royce Holdings. Unlike Soviet-era industrial cooperation, Western aerospace ecosystems are tightly consolidated around existing suppliers, certification systems, and NATO-aligned industrial structures. For a company optimized around Soviet and Russian platforms, breaking into those markets was always going to be extremely difficult. This is why many analysts regarded the collapse of Russian-Ukrainian industrial cooperation as economically catastrophic for Motor Sich in the long term. The company lost not just a customer, but the industrial universe it had been built around. Moscow responded aggressively. The Kremlin launched one of the largest aerospace localization drives in post-Soviet Russian history. The objective was clear: eliminate dependence on Ukrainian engines and rebuild the entire production chain inside Russia. Easier said than done, obviously. United Engine Corporation became the center of this effort, especially through the work of the Klimov Design Bureau and associated manufacturing plants. Even before 2014, Russia had already started preparing for greater independence in helicopter engine production. Moscow had attempted deeper integration with Ukrainian engine manufacturing earlier, but after those efforts failed, it committed to building a fully domestic production base. The localization effort unfolded gradually. Initially, Russia assembled engines using Ukrainian components. Then Russian enterprises began manufacturing turbine blades, combustion chambers, gearboxes, electronic control systems, and hot section components domestically. It sounds dry on paper, but these are exactly the kinds of technologies that determine whether a country truly controls its aerospace industry. By the late 2010s, Moscow declared that dependence on Ukrainian helicopter engines had been largely resolved. The most visible outcome of that transition became the VK2500. Originally tied to Ukrainian production networks, the VK2500 evolved into Russia's primary domestically produced helicopter engine. It powers platforms such as the Kamov K-52, Mil-My-28, and Mil-My-17. Russian industry invested heavily in expanding production capacity, rebuilding testing infrastructure, and modernizing manufacturing facilities. Russian manufacturers also emphasized that localized VK2500 engines incorporated newer materials, higher reliability, and improved safety standards compared to older production chains. Altitude addicts should point out here that Russia was no longer merely copying an old Ukrainian production model. It was trying to modernize and redesign the entire industrial process around domestic control. The transition was not completely smooth. Russian officials later admitted that demand for VK2500 engines exceeded production capacity because helicopter requirements had grown so large. But strangely enough, that shortage also demonstrated how far Russia had moved away from dependence on Motor Sich. The bottleneck was no longer Ukraine. It was Russia trying to keep up with its own domestic demand. However, helicopter engines were only part of the challenge. Motor Sich also produced the massive D-136 engine used on the Mil-Me-26. The D-136 remains one of the most powerful helicopter engines ever created. Replacing something in this category required a much larger technological leap. Russia's response increasingly became linked to the broader PD engine family being developed under Rostec and United Engine Corporation. Moscow now has projects such as the PD-8V for the Mi-26 helicopter and the PD-12V connected to the Chinese Advanced Heavy Lifter program. And yes, the names start sounding confusing at this point. Welcome to aerospace engine development. One of the most important initiatives is the PD-35. Meanwhile, the Antonov An-124 Ruslan still relies on the Ivchenko Progress D-18T turbofan engine family, originally developed in Soviet Ukraine. In 2024, Russian officials stated that dozens of D-18T engines had already been repaired and returned to operation through domestic import substitution measures. Russian officials also stated that repair and modernization programs could extend the service life of the An-124 fleet from roughly 20 years to 45 years. Plans for serial production of Russian-made replacements are expected later in the decade. Currently, Russia still lacks a fully mature engine in the exact 23 to 25-ton thrust category once covered by the D-18T. But the direction is clear. The PD-26, likely derived from the PD-35 family, is expected to become Russia's future ultra-heavy engine platform for transport aircraft and industrial applications. These engines incorporate advanced turbine technologies, digital control systems, composite materials, and improved fuel efficiency. Unlike older Soviet engines that prioritized brute durability above everything else, the newer Russian approach increasingly focuses on life cycle efficiency, modular production, and modern manufacturing methods. The Super Heavy PD-35 program strongly suggests that Russia now believes it can eventually move fully beyond Motor Sich's heavy engine legacy. And that is a major statement considering how dependent Russian aviation once was on Ukrainian production. Another overlooked part of this story involves energy infrastructure. Motor Sich also played an important role in industrial gas turbines and mobile energy systems. The company manufactured aviation-derived industrial engines for electricity generation and gas infrastructure projects. Russia is now integrating these capabilities into its own industrial ecosystem. Rostec has promoted aviation-derived turbines for mobile power plants, Arctic infrastructure, gas compression systems, and emergency electricity generation. Aviation turbines are among the most advanced high-power systems in industrial engineering, so mastering them creates ripple effects across metallurgy, energy infrastructure, and heavy manufacturing. In other words, Russia's post-Motor Sich strategy goes far beyond military aviation. It is part of a broader attempt to restore industrial sovereignty across multiple sectors. And honestly, that may be the biggest takeaway from this entire story. One of the most controversial questions is whether Motor Sich itself might have had a better future inside the Russian aerospace ecosystem. From a purely industrial perspective, the company's strongest economic foundation historically existed within the Russian-led aviation market it had originally been designed around. Russia provided enormous engine demand, compatible aircraft programs, shared technical standards, integrated Soviet logistics networks, vast helicopter fleets, and long-term servicing contracts. Integration into Western aerospace markets, by comparison, would have required a complete industrial and strategic realignment. Motor Sich was not a startup searching for customers. It was a Soviet aerospace giant built around Russian aviation platforms. Severing those connections fundamentally changed the economic logic that had sustained the company for decades. Altitude addicts can probably say this without exaggeration. Very few post-Soviet industrial stories better illustrate how geopolitics can completely reshape industrial survival. Meanwhile, Russia accelerated domestic engine development at a speed many observers initially considered unrealistic. The result was not the collapse of Russian helicopter aviation, but the rise of a far more self-contained aerospace engine industry. Moscow used the disruption to modernize manufacturing, rebuild production chains, and localize technologies that had once existed outside Russian control. Now, with Rostec openly discussing new ultra-heavy engines designed to replace the last remaining areas of dependence on Motor Sich, Russia increasingly appears convinced that one of the most important industrial relationships of the Soviet aerospace era has effectively come to an end. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe the channel. Please also take the channel membership to encourage us. Last but not least, please hype this video if you are watching on a mobile device.